30. Time check is 7:41 a.m. and today is the 27th of December 2023. All right, and of course after by 8:30 we'll take a short break and then we'll be back by 8:44 mainland focus, where you, our dear listener, gets to join in on the conversation and share your thoughts and your contribution as regards the focal point for the day. My name is Omobola Sandra. I won't be doing this alone. Fuad Sahid will be joining in via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. It's going to be an interesting day. It's going to be a beautiful day. I trust we all had a refreshing holiday. I hope that we're able to spend time with our family, friends and loved ones. Most of us are probably back at work by now, or we're on our way to work, but welcome back. And I hope you were able to achieve all that you were not able to achieve, and I hope you're having a beautiful December and Christmas season. Good morning, Fuad. How are you doing?
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Sandra. I'm fine. How are you doing too?
Oh, I'm well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And happy anniversary, or congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, okay. So let's get on with it. We'll start with the Guardian newspaper. And the major headline there: slow e-payment channels worsen cash and Yuletide troubles. And that story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. I can just imagine people who are already struggling to, get access to cash and all. And then even e-channels is also a problem. Well, added to the economic slowdown and cash crunch challenges that took the shine off the 2023 festive period, sluggish payments, digital channels have compounded the woes of Yuletide. So ATM banks go blank, POS operators exploit customers, Nigerians lament as bank apps fail, DMBs, that's deposit money banks, that's what we call commercial banks, carry over 200 billion naira USSD debt to 2024 as platform drags. There's just too many financial situation issues that we are experiencing. So economy into financial, and here we are, people are struggling to have access to cash, and now it's now the e-channels that are giving problems. E-payment channels, that's ATM, POS, NIP, USSD, that's the one that you dial code, that's that's USSD. Then also the NIP, that's the app when you go in through the app. So it's a serious problem. Yesterday, I was in one of the e-hailing cabs, and the man was lamenting on how someone transferred funds to him. He got an alert of credit, but he has been checking his account and the money is not in the money has not dropped in his account. So situations like this, Fuad, what are your thoughts? These many challenges that seem to want to take the shine off the festive period.
I think it was during the cash crunch of a Mayfield that we also had a similar conversation as to the failure of the e-channels, to help Nigerians out with access to their money. And I think what we said then was that these were not supposed to be the main channels for Nigerians. If these channels were designed as alternate channels, they were supposed to be like support systems.
Yes.
If this fails, you resort to using this. But because of the situation at that time, it became the main channel for a lot of Nigerians, and so it became too compounded. The pressure was too much on the system. When you have too many people trying
everybody's
to
trying, yes.
So it became a big problem at that time. I think that was what a lot of Nigerians had to also witness during this celebration. A lot of Nigerians wanted to use their e-channels. I guess there were glitches there and there. Pressure was too much on the system. When you talk about e-channels, it's about building capacity. A lot of the deposit money banks, financial institutions are still improving on their capacity. That's why even on normal days when there's no crisis, you find that e-channels. So it's just now look at situations where everybody has now resort to trying to use the e-channels, and then you have that number of glitches there and there. So out till today, Sandra, the CBN has not been able to explain why we have the return of this cash crunch, that we witnessed, I think January, February this year, which was basically an Emefiele problem. They've not been able to give any reasonable explanation as to why we are having this cash crunch again. There are people who have said that people are mopping money, people are hoarding money. I said, why would anybody hoard cash? If the cash is available, there's no reason why anybody would try to hoard it. So I think there are still explanations that we have not gotten from the CBN. The deposit money banks have not been able to explain to their customers why they are rationing cash. And then, of course, that has created opportunity for POS operators to feed fast on Nigeria. It's become a racket. So we're now back with a Mayfair era where people are now using money to buy money. Not as bad as what we witnessed during the Mayfair. But we are eating. And that's why people are asking questions. Is a Mayfair back at the CBN? What is happening? We've not been able to get answers, Sandra.
Well, it's a serious quagmire we have found ourselves, and to make matters even more interesting, is let's not forget that sometime last year or so we started the conversation around the fact that banks are owing telco companies for the usage of USSD. And now we see that the banks are going to be carrying over 200 billion naira worth of debt into 2024, and now we have telcos are now telcos are promising to disconnect banks if they do not pay, or if the matter is not addressed adequately or timely as it is now. So even the USSD that people seem to let's just make use of this for this time period is also a serious problem. Well, the story is on
you know what, Sandra, there are still a lot of questions as to how the running of our banks, especially the deposit money banks. There are a lot of people who still believe that the capitalization we did some years back has to happen again. A lot of the banks are struggling. A lot of them are not as strong as we assumed. And that's why the new CBN governor, Mr. Cardoso, is already talking about the possible recapitalization of these banks. Because a lot of them are actually not as strong as we assume. So I think that when it comes to the operations of our deposit money banks again, we have to have a second look at them as they are solvent as we assume they are. Because again, if you are not able to pay telcos for providing a service, whereas this service, these monies were deducted at source. Customers use that service, the banks deduct the money at source. Pay the telcos now is become a problem. So it tells you that indeed there are some other issues that we need to talk about when we're talking about the capacity of our deposit money banks. And if the government is looking at the $1 trillion economy, I think a lot of these banks cannot function in that kind of structure. So I think capitalization is the way to go. How it's going to be, we'll have to wait to see what happens.
Oh well, ATMs go blank. POS operators are exploiting customers. Nigerians are lamenting as bank apps fail, and the fact that DMBs will be carrying over 200 billion naira USSD debt to 2024, even as the platform is currently dragging. There's people are struggling to use that particular situation. Transactions are failing, cards are declining, and people still don't have access to cash. What exactly is going on in the banking world? The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving
the Nigerian banking world, Sandra.
Oh my goodness,
it's our problem.
Okay. In the Nigerian banking,
what you say is a global issue, in order to happen.
Yes, very necessary for
let's just domesticate our problem.
Let's domesticate it. Yes, it is a Nigerian situation. All right, stories on page 6. Moving on now, we have here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, saboteurs hoarding naira, dollars now on federal government watch list. So are they going to name them? Is there going to be a naming? This watch list that we keep hearing.
I just said it that you will hear that something. This motion without movement agenda of government. So people are on the watch list. People are holding naira. So people are holding naira. They have a list of them. How do they get the list?
So I'm reading the report, and it's interesting. Fuad.
Okay, let's have the report.
The Senate leader, Okoyemi Bamidele, has said that some saboteurs hoarding naira and dollars to frustrate President Bola Tinubu's efforts at reinvigorating the economy have been put on watch list of the federal government. And he said that the saboteurs creating artificial scarcity of the currencies were determined to undermine all efforts by the current administration towards putting the country's economy back on track. One would think that you have saboteurs, people that want to,
let's go after them. What
exactly? One would think that you would take advantage of it, leverage on it, use it to shine.
And the fact that you have the list and you know them.
I don't know, Fuad, or what do you think?
This is just this is just another very ridiculous excuse I hear from government. And this excuse comes again to make Nigerians think that look, government is actually on top of the situation. Oh, don't blame the government, there are saboteurs. Look, in every society you have people who pretend to be who want to be saboteurs. You have people who want to be criminal minded, who want to go against the law. That's why you have the government. That's why you have the instruments of government to go after them. You have the EFCC, you have the police, there's the anti-fraud unit, you have the ICPC, you have the. If it requires using the army to go after them, please do. But for us, I keep talking about this idea of government officials or politicians coming to tell us the problem and not what the solution to the problem is or what they are doing about the problem. Okay, now that you have a watch list, that's the same way. I'm sure we're going to get to the insecurity in the country, the issue of insecurity in the country, particularly. That's why we've been talking about a list of people sponsoring Boko Haram, sponsoring bandits. We keep having lists, and yet we don't do anything about the list. Okay, so what we are now going to continue to hear is that there's a list of saboteurs who are holding the dollars, who are holding the cash, and then nothing will happen to them. Unless the government wants to tell Nigerians that there are Nigerians who are bigger than the government. And so we just accept that we are mercy of influential Nigerians that we cannot do anything about. But I don't know what anything about what list. We've had so many lists. I just said, you used to believe lists of government.
Yes.
You always believe that there's a list coming.
Because I feel, Fuad, let's have this conversation. The fact that people who are sabotaging, people who are, making all your efforts to,
you are watching them.
You are watching them. It doesn't make sense. So I always have the belief that, they would go after them so that their efforts will show, so that we would enjoy these dividends of the reforms. I don't know. We don't have to wait till 2024.
Maybe the government thinks that the best thing to do is to watch first before you go after them.
But
for how long are they going to watch them?
And they will be hearing kinetic and non-kinetic.
That will not get to kinetic and non-kinetic, and at the end of the day, nothing. That's why I say it's all motion without move. There's something deliberate and intentional about this. I think it's just to give excuses, but putting to a point where they're not ready to take excuses from the government.
Oh well.
They elected people to solve their problem, not to come and tell them what the problem is. We know the problem. We actually also know that there are people taking advantage of the dollar situation. So the government came up to say, they are unifying the two markets, but we still have two windows, where the margin has also continued to create the opportunity for all manner of racketeering. It is not to come and tell Nigerians what the problem is or there are saboteurs. We know that definitely within the system there are saboteurs. The government doing about it, they are watching them till when?
Well, the Senate leader said the saboteurs' action was hurting the manufacturing and other productive sectors, and lack access to forex needed, blah 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 da. And he added that Tinubu's administration could have achieved much for the country, but for the destructive tendency of the cabals. Oh, what? Here we are. We are back. We are back to this. We are back to this. We are back to this.
I'm blaming him, right? So we're going to be blaming the faceless cabal now, right? That is bigger than the government.
Because you can't blame the past administration.
I'm not sure Nigerians will take these blames and excuses for another 4 years.
It's okay.
We took it 8 years for Buhari. 8 years. 8 years, 6 years for Jonathan. Now we are back to the blame game, the excuses for another 4 years. Oh, there's a cabal somewhere that is bigger than the government.
Well, he has Mr. Opeyemi Bamidele has retweeted that the federal government will soon expose the saboteurs and deal with them, as they are already on the watch list. See,
you wait for the list. I'm not waiting because I know no list will come.
It's okay. I think
you want to see the
I
list.
think I've moved past opism. I think I've moved past opism. I've moved on with my life. Nigerian government will stay in white. The story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Saboteurs are hoarding naira and dollars now on federal government's watch list. I don't know what they're waiting
The
for.
list have been full, because the government has been watching all manner of things. They watched Boko Haram sponsors, they watched pipeline vandals, they watched theft, guys in the oil industry stealing our oil. They have a long list of people they are watching without doing anything about it.
Well, the story is on page 7. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we have here fast-tracking justice dispensation through alternative dispute resolution. That story is on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. So it's just, excuse me. Okay, yes. What we have on this particular story, at the special court session marking the commencement of the Supreme Court 2023-2024 legal year and the conferment of the prestigious rank of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria on 58 legal practitioners in Abuja on 27th November 2023, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, who retires in August next year upon attaining the mandatory retirement age of 70, appealed to Nigerians to be less litigious and more disposed to settling their disputes through alternative dispute resolution mechanisms.
Well, it's not a bad idea.
Yes, but we've always had a conversation that our courts are jammed, especially this year. There's a lot of electoral cases in court, and it took the spotlight off of all the other civil cases. Yes, exactly. So now, what do you think of alternative dispute resolution?
I think it's a fantastic idea, especially for cases that are not too criminal. Not too criminal in terms of the outlook. For example, marital issues,
mediation.
Mediation can work, and some other. And I think that can work if I think the local governments and our traditional rulers can take up this responsibility. Again, a lot of these issues happen within the community. You understand? You have brothers fighting over a piece of land. Those are issues that our traditional institutions can pick up, the obas, the ballets. You understand what I'm saying? And then you can have situations where even local government set up mediation centers to attend to. Again, you have a lot of senior citizens, influential citizens who have retired, that just at home doing nothing. Some of them who are still very agile, who are still mental, who have the mental capacity, can be employed. Some of them will even be volunteers for these kinds of mediations. Look at dispute resolution that does not have to get to the court. You understand? Or you have a landlord tenant having disputes. You can have community leaders who can step in and resolve issues like that. You understand what I'm saying? So I agree to that, but again, it has to be something intentional. We have to be deliberate about alternative means of dispute resolution and all of that. But I think that's where we have to look at local opportunities from our traditional institutions to well-meaning Nigerians who or they are still very agile, they can be volunteers, so that we don't just have everything going to court. Everything and anything going to court.
Well, the CJN has requested or argued for an amendment, or has advocated, let's use that word, advocated for an amendment to the Nigerian Constitution to prevent most cases from reaching the Supreme Court, aiming to decongest the apex court. Well, aside from that, the Attorney General of the Federation and also Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi SAN urged the National Judicial Council to expedite action on the process of appointing more justices. And he also agrees with the CJN, said that to fast track dispensation of justice and all of that, we need to not all cases filed in court should go to trial. Litigants and their lawyers should have more recourse to mediation, arbitration and alternative dispute resolution in the settlement of disputes. This is actually a good one. I hope that it will be.
I agree.
Yes, I mean, the idea to decongest our courts by ensuring that a lot of cases that can be amicably resolved by parties can be done outside court. Imagine tenant taking landlord to court, or landlord taking these are things mediation can work.
Can resolve, yeah.
Stories on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, I'm going to be tying 3 stories together, and that's on the front page of the Guardian. First is Middle Belt threatens self-help as death toll in Plateau killings hit 155. Then we also have here over 50,000 soldiers in counter-terrorism and separatist operations nationwide. That's coming from the Chief of Army Staff. And we also have here, Senator laments rise in Taraba killings, calls for emergency. So for 3 stories on insecurity. What exactly is the way forward?
Sandra, the Plateau State situation is so sad. You know, it was a major story for us yesterday. And I think 𝗃 was able to reach out to the Commissioner for Information in Plateau State, who joined him in the situation room. I tried to listen to the show, and he had a whole lot to say about the station on the Plateau. But it's not just the Plateau, the entire North Central. That's why the middle belt guys are saying that look, they might resort to self-help. It's not just the middle belt. The insecurity in the situation has gotten to the point where people are saying that look, we may have to begin to look at alternative means of securing ourselves, because the current structure is not working and may not work. We've had governors in the past who have said that they have to arm their own people. In fact, there have been governors in the past who have said that look, you guys go and buy your own to secure yourself. But again, that's against the law. Nobody is allowed in Nigeria unless you are licensed, you can't bear arms. In fact, licensing, there are kinds of arms you cannot still carry in Nigeria. But if you look at what has happened in the Plateau, the governor just yesterday said that look, there was enough intelligence as to the fact that these guys were around our different communities. Sandra, they ransacked more than 15 communities, and the reports were getting that they killed over 150 people. It was a terrible Christmas for the people of the Plateau. And the governor is still saying that look, these assailants, these bandits, these terrorists are still around. They have occupied most of our schools, and nothing is in, you know. So you ask yourself, where do we go from here? Sandra, I'm going to tell you something. This is the reality. There's enough intelligence within government on what the situation is as far as the middle belt is concerned, the north side, and the level of insecurity in that part of the country. The question is, are we willing to do the right thing? Does the government have the willpower to do the right thing? Sandra, if you look at the map of the world, and you focus on sub-Saharan Africa, and you look at that map, basically looking at it from the Sahel Savannah, the Sahara Desert, you're going to see nature at work. And what do I mean? It's desertification happening from the Sahara Desert and encroaching into North. You are going to see it on the map. It's all red and sandy. The few areas in the north where you have green grass for grazing have all been desertificated by nature. So you have a situation where nature is working against humans and then pitching human beings against human beings. But in other parts where this climate change conversation is ongoing, the issue of nature and all of that, they don't put ethnic sentiment and religious sentiment to it. They look for practicable and workable solutions. The reality is that look, we have a problem with herders who still do this normal nomadic farming, moving their cattle all the way from the north. And the next point of settlement is the north central for grazing. We have to sit down as a people and find a lasting solution. Every time we come up with this argument of elder farmer clashes, this is no clash, this is almost like genocide. We are a group of people going to villages, ransacking them and killing them at will. It is not, you can say it's a clash, or it's as if somebody is fighting and two people are fighting. This has gone beyond a fight. This has become a situation where there's a deliberate attempt by some people to take over their land, take over their heritage, and wipe them out of that area. So, whether we like it or not, you see, this non-kinetic and kinetic means that government is talking about may not resolve anything. And that is why people have said that, look, we are at a point where we need to decide what we want to do about our security architecture. Especially the policing structure we have. We need to do state police. Look, if you look at the governor of Plateau State, it sounded helpless. The man is sounding helpless.
Well, Fuhad, thank you very much. This is really an unfortunate situation, especially the Plateau, situation. I mean, I have here as a rider in this report that gunmen operated unhindered for over 48 hours. Fuhad.
48 hours.
Over that 2 days.
In the two communities.
Bokos and Bakin Ladi. They are close to the capital.
Military base is there, Sandra. There are military bases in those places. There's even this Operation Safe Haven with strong presence of the military in those communities. So how would a group of people ransack about 15 communities operated for 48 hours without a response? It happened in Ondo State, Sandra. The same situation. You knew how Tʀᴇɪᴅs was shouting, sounding helpless, lamenting. We cannot have a situation where you call a governor the chief security officer of a state. People come into a state, they ransack the state, kill people, and the governor is helpless. What kind of structure are we running?
So I mean, now that that's been highlighted, because now Amnesty International is looking at the fact that it is inexcusable the security lapses that happen in Plateau State. How can people, we've always talked about this security, framework, or is it architecture? I really don't know the word to use now, because just last year we talked about the Kuje prison attack, how this went on for hours and there was nothing being done, and the Owo attack as well, it went on and on and on, and even up until now we don't have anything. So exactly. And this now, 48 out 4, that's 2 days. So they slept, woke up, continued.
The governor is saying that these guys are still within the community. Some of them are still occupying schools within this community. Wow. That's what the governor is saying. So you ask yourself, how do we get out of this quagmire? This is the reality, Sandra. I said it to say yesterday. We are between the devil and the deep blue sea. This conversation around state policing, I think we've gotten to a point where there seems to be no other option. It's not even about state policing. We have to have community policing at the local level. Because the rest is the Sandra.
Yes.
How can the governor respond? The governor is the chief security officer of the state. He's not in total control of the policing structure of the state. He can't give orders to the commissioner of police. The command structure of the military in the state, he cannot even give them orders. He can't even control them. So he's helpless. So what kind of structure are we running? And that's why I made a passionate appeal to the president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's one of the biggest and strongest advocates of devolution of power. One of the things we know him for was when he was the governor of Lagos State, and there was this conversation around creation of local government. It's a subset of what we are even talking about as our policing structure. Sandra, whether we like it or not, the conversation to state police has to start now. We have to start the legal framework for us to begin to have state police structure across the country. What we have now is not working. Let us even look at the capacity of the police. Sandra, how many policemen do we have in Nigeria? More than half of the policemen we have, about less than 400,000, are guiding VIP. So we need to do something. Even in a war situation, Sandra, just in one day, 2 days, you have this number. And this is not the first time. It's a repeat of occurrence. It always happens. In Benue State, in Nasarawa State, in Niger State now, in Plateau State, that has been the situation. Even in the north, in the northwest, you have situations where bandits are now collecting taxes. Farmers can't go to their farms. The north central is supposed to be the food basket of the nation. If you are talking about food security in Nigeria, we must secure the north central, because that's where about 50 to 60% of our needs in terms of food production comes from. It's a farming society. A lot of them are farmers. So this idea of elders, yes, we understand that there's serious desertification. I just said it, from the Sahara Desert, encroaching into most parts of the north. So you have a situation where elders are forced to move down south, and then of course the first point of call for them is the north central. But people have also said that, look, this idea of open grazing has to stop. It has to stop. This open grazing thing has to stop. The nomadic life has to stop, since it's now become a major security threat to Nigeria. And that's why the issue of ranching has been brought up as a solution. But is anybody committed to it? Are we just saying it for the sake of saying it? Are we intentional about it? Are we really intentional about stopping open grazing to ensure that we do more ranching? Sandra, in societies where they ranch, the cows are even well fed, a better fed. And it's even a bigger business. But this idea of lumping tradition, ethnicity to nomadic life and saying it's not impossible, they can't continue to roam around if they are becoming a major security threat. And that's the truth we are not ready to tell ourselves.
Well, The Middle Belt Forum has said the people of the region are left with no option but to resort to self-help to defend themselves, given the failure of the federal government to put an end to the killings by armed herdsmen. The MBF also lampooned the federal government for failing to move decisively against the armed marauders despite knowing their location and their hideout. That's what we have in this report.
It's a very sad situation. It's a very, very sad situation. Very sad situation.
It's also no longer news that the hideouts from which these insurgents and terrorists launched their attacks on the states of Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, Taraba, and southern Kaduna has been known to the government and security forces for decades. Yet, they have deliberately fortified this evil theater from any destruction, thus providing a safe haven for these terrorists to smuggle arms, train their mercenaries, unleash unimaginable terror on innocent citizens without any provocation whatsoever. Thank you.
That's what I said when they keep saying it's FEMA headers clashes.
It's not clash. This is not a clash.
It's not a clash.
Straight on.
This is an attempt to wipe people out.
Yes, that's just it. It's not a
clash now. Where is the clash now?
So if it's a clash, it's who against who?
That's the question. Who against who now? So these are people who just come in to perpetrate crime, kill. And like it's not about, again, I want to say that, look, we have to be careful to now ethnicize it.
No.
These are just criminals that we need to take care of. They are criminals. Terrorists.
There's no I know that we had that issue yesterday on Milan Focus. There's no need to there's no ethnic colorization or tribal colorization to this. The point is, for humanity's sake, people are killing people. That's just it.
These are criminals.
That's just it. That's it. There's no need to say, oh, it's from this side of the country or from that side of the country, because I mean there will be sleepovers. We've had sleeper cells even in the south as well. So it's not something that we can say, oh, it's just happening in the north. So no. That's not.
And this, Sandra, one thing again is what is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu willing to do differently now?
So they're investigating.
Sandra, all right, after the investigation we'll talk.
Oh well, Fuad, please. This is it can actually be frustrating, as a matter of fact. Can actually.
I think in the news yesterday, the president has said he has ordered the security chiefs to go after these killers. That was the same thing we got when our massacre happened. Oh, go after them. And we saw the back and forth between the governor, some of the cabinet members of the Buhari government. The fact that at the stage, even Governor Rotimi Akeredolu were praying that he gets back well again. Kept complaining about the fact that, look, the intelligence they got locally that they share with the federal government, that they discovered that, chance of government are not serious about working with those intelligence reports. Even when some people were arrested, there were trails of these guys that nobody. And he also questioned this idea of the federal government at that time, coming up with the fact that, this is where people who came from Libya or somewhere. That no, it's not about people who came in from Libya. These are guys who are intentional about causing destruction. These are just anarchists, terrorists, criminals. And I must say that, look, President Bola, the figures are also rising for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm sure in the last 8 months, if you take a stock of the number of Nigerians that have been killed across the nation, it's been very huge. These are huge figures. And he's going to tell to his records in terms of security and insecurity in the country. That will be one of the things people are going to use to say that, look, this is what you have been able to do in terms of insecurity in the country.
Thank you very much, Fuad. All of these stories, you can get them on pages 7, 6, and 28 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's move now. We also have on the front page of the Guardian, APC alleges plot to pilfer 8 billion naira from Kano coffers. That's on page 28. We also have here, we have responsibility to ensure Nigeria's stability, Tinubu tells governors, and that's on page 3. And the president has declared that the federal and subnational government have the mutual responsibility of ensuring peace and stability nationwide. Speaking during a meeting with Nigeria Governors Forum at his residence in Lagos, the president reiterated his condemnation of the latest killings in Plateau. He issued a stern directive to security agencies to halt the carnage in Plateau and intensify pursuit of those responsible for the recent tragic events in Bokos and Barkin-Ladi local council areas. That story is on page 3. You can get more details there.
The usual rhetoric, Sandra. The usual rhetoric.
Just
you get it every time something happens, and the next one happens again. The statement comes again.
No,
yes, I think it's on autoplay. It's just the same statement. We are used to the Buhari for 8 years, the same statement. Jonathan, the same statement. And the idea of the governors also committing to development and security. Sandra, we need to restructure this country. Until we do that and we get very intentional about proper structure for the country, nothing is going to change.
Thank you very much, Fuad. Story is on page 3. And that's what we're taking from The Guardian. You are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We're looking through major trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. My name is Omobola Sandra, and I have Fuad Sahid via the phone line. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can drop comments even as the conversation goes on. Now we're moving on to Vanguard newspaper, and the major headline on the front page of Vanguard: as death toll hits 115, outrage over Plateau massacre. And we have riders. President orders security agencies to fish out perpetrators. And Tinubu, Mufwang, Northern elders, governors, senators, others mourn how 115 innocent citizens in 15 communities are killed, says governor. Government to offset medical bills, as deputy governor and group condemns attacks. We have no option but to resort to self-help, says MBF, that's Middle Belt Forum.
That would be complete anarchy, Sandra. If every Nigerian now resorts to self-help, that's complete anarchy.
You remember, the Zamfara statement? I think it was Bello Matawale.
I said governors, even the Akedumi, when these killers came into a war, I remember one of the first statements Governor Rotimi Akeredolu issued. He said, look, that there was no balance of power. That look, these guys that came into the church to kill innocent people came in because they know that look, they were carrying superior weapons. That if there was a balance of power, these guys would not even dare.
That was when he was requesting for arms for Amotekun.
Look, these guys are going into these communities in Plateau and do all of it. It is because they know there's no balance of power. They are able to buy all of these AK-47s and all of these sophisticated weapons. But if they know that they are also going into communities where it will be fire for fire, they will not dare it. But we don't even want to get to that because that will be complete anarchy. They know, it's not as if they are superior. It's not as if they have, like the one saying in the street, they are not people here not law. It's just because they have better weapons. And they know that, look, there's nothing intentional about going after them. On a normal day, it's not as if they are stronger than these other people. It is because they know they have superior weapons. And the government for years has not really done anything about dealing with them decisively.
All right, we also have here, as riders arrest, prosecute perpetrators, northern governors and senators tell federal government. Citizens urged to visit hospitals for blood donation. CAN, that is Christian Association of Nigeria, tasks security agencies on intelligence gathering and proactive interventions. Put a stop to senseless killings. Baptist Convention begs security agencies. Obi pays tribute to fallen heroes. Very unfortunate situation. Imagine just being in your house, just sitting in your house, you're not unprovoked. You're not doing
that's why I said it's not a clash. This is that's why under newspapers use the right word. This is massacre basically. Not a clash.
The story is on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Very unfortunate. We also have here 30 die in Rivers explosion. That's on page 6. We also have 6 die, 65 injured in Lagos, Ibadan and Kaduna Abuja expressway auto crashes. Please stay safe out there. Let's drive with caution. The story is on page 6. Anxiety in Ondo community as kingmakers disown self-appointed monarch. I think that's Alade. I think Is that Alade Dore? So
in Ondo State.
In Ondo State. Let's just sorry. The story is on page 10, by the way, of Vanguard newspaper, and what that story is: Kingmakers, yes, correct. Kingmakers in Alade Dore community in Idore Council area of Ondo State have described as impostor anyone parading himself as the traditional ruler of the community. So, speaking on the selection of a new monarch, the Prime Minister of the town, who doubled as regent, Oladipo Akinsewo, said a new monarch will soon be selected. So, anybody parading himself as the monarch is an impostor, and such action is against the tradition and custom of the ancient town. The story is on page 10. You can get more details there. We also have federal government to go after economic saboteurs next year.
2024, a lot of. The year of
2024 is going to be a very busy year for our government, but I don't know if
I going after them next year, not this year. Okay, the year is gone.
The year is gone. Just have few days left in the year, so that's.
But they're putting the list together this year to go after them this year.
It's okay, Fuad.
I'm just asking.
Stories on page 8. We also have above the masthead of Vanguard newspaper, Yuletide, NNPCL guarantees fuel availability nationwide. And that is on page 13 of Vanguard newspaper. Just very, very quickly, let's see what we have in that particular report. Reports of nationwide availability of PMS, otherwise known as or referred to as petrol, have ensured a smooth and blissful Christmas holiday for Nigerians and all consumers of the product. Well, we didn't have fuel scarcity this year. That's interesting.
No, but there was scarcity.
But there's scarcity.
There has to be one scarcity.
There's always a scarcity.
And then we are celebrating the availability of fuel as if it's not supposed to be a normal. You don't understand. You know, we are so used to failure of your people not doing their job well, and then we can now celebrate that there was fuel. We have to celebrate it, right?
So we are
okay, thank you NNPCL for making fuel available. We say thank you to you.
Oh wow, look at that. Oh no, that's where we are now, eh? The story on page 13 of Vanguard newspaper. We also have here Rivers crisis. Tinubu lords Fubara over approach to rift with Wike. So Fuad,
yeah,
there's no price too expensive. What's that statement again?
According to Fubara, I know there are prices you don't pay for. There are things you don't just pay.
There's no price too high to pay for peace.
And the things you are trying to achieve has to be well defined.
Well, I mean, based on reports that we're getting, it seems that the price has been paid, eh?
Let me tell you what is happening in Rivers.
Okay.
We are sweeping the doors under the carpet. We will one day bring it out again.
Okay, so it's inevitable. We're just pushing forward. What's still going to happen?
Look, the thing is that instead of us to sweep the deck, pack it very well and litter it properly. What we've done is to open up the carpet and sweep it under it and cover it as the room is clean. We'll sweep it out one day.
God help us. Well, the president commended Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State over what he described as the governor's statesmanship in resolving the political impasse between him and the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. He noted that the federal and subnational government have a mutual responsibility of ensuring the country's peace and stability. This is interesting. Well, there was a... We are
here watching. We are here.
It's okay.
Here.
The president said, and I'm quoting, "I thank you for your statesmanship. I listened to your broadcast and your emphasis on peace. It is only with peace that effective governance can thrive, and governance has commenced in earnest under my watch." That's interesting. Well, to God be all the glory. We'll see this long-lasting peace in Rivers State. I wish for Rivers people. That's all I'm going to say.
I say amen to that. Let's move to the next story.
I hope it's long-lasting.
Time that you pray, you are now asking questions. I say amen. Okay, which one? Are you asking a question or maybe
we have prayed. Let's move on. We have prayed.
Let's go forward. Don't leave everything.
All right, stories on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. And panel summons Lemo and others over acquisition of Union Bank. That's on page 7. And that's all we're taking from Vanguard newspaper. This is still trends in the papers. Moving on to The Nation. Major headline: Tinubu orders security agents to fish out killers of 96 in Plateau. And we have writers to that. Attackers raised 321 houses in 15 communities. Search for bodies continue. Outrage over mayhem. And that story is on page 4 of The Nation newspaper, and still on the Plateau massacre. Very very unfortunate. That's particular
black day for the people of Plateau. And
Nigerians. If we look at it, very well. But let's move on from that story. 3 inmates escaped from correctional center in Ogun State. So to be forewarned is to be forearmed. That story is on page 6 in Ogun State. Just close here. It's not far.
That's a jailbreak or just what happened?
They escaped. What did you say?
They should look for them.
Oh, okay. Oh, of course. It's in the papers. I hope that they will look for them. What we have is that 3 inmates of Ogun State Correctional Center in Ijebu-Ode allegedly escaped from the facility after scaling the heavily padded fence. I lived in Ijebu-Ode for 2 years. That fence is not padded. That's all I have to say. And also the fact that prison, for that correctional center, is in the midst of residential houses. Like it's just in a residential area, that this particular correctional center that they're talking about.
To break it.
Yeah, I mean, and you have inmates on the road sometimes cleaning the streets and begging for alms on the road there.
But there's always a water with them. It wasn't there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it was learned that Hamed Adeboyejo, who was convicted for robbery and murder, Fatai Akonde, convicted for murder, and Aliu Oguntono, sentenced for sexual offences, escaped 3 days ago. What's the law? So
these are real criminals, adding criminals. Murder. You don't want to have them in the society.
No. I hope something has been done, but this happened 3 days ago. One would think that. The story is on page 6. Well, we also have on the front page here: illegal bunkering explosion kills 20 on Christmas Eve in Rivers State. That's on page 6.
Another sad day for us.
Very, very sad day. We also have here: President hails Fubara's commitment to peace. All eyes on governance. Speaker to implement resolutions. That's on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Also, above the masthead of the Nation, we have presidents, governors, senators hail George Akume at 70. The secretary to the government of the Federation celebrated his birthday yesterday. The story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. APC PDP fixed January 6 and 8 for by-election primaries. Nomination forms on sale. I remember I think on Monday it was announced by INEC that February has been slated for by-elections 2024. All right, stories on page 3. We'll definitely be following up on that. Minister urges cash transfer beneficiaries to invest. How much is the money? Ministers urge cash transfer beneficiaries the 25,000 naira. They should is it not for eating? Why they say you should invest it again? I don't know.
Invest what?
God will have mercy. Anyways, the story is on page.
So let's see what you're telling them to do. For me, I want us to maybe some things that on
maybe he's onto something.
So that we don't just I'm wondering what you can invest in 25,000.
So you should invest in profitable economic ventures.
Is that what they have said? Is there anything clear? Did it come out clear?
The federal government has urged beneficiaries of the renewed Hope financial grants approved by President Bola Tinubu to invest the cash in profitable economic ventures.
What is that? What exactly is that?
The economic ventures.
Yes, now.
Okay. Well, I have here these monies. I'm quoting now. These monies can be used to start up little
Like what?
You can use these grants to boost your trade, and that will help with sustainability. These grants are deliberate acts by the federal government to pull people out of poverty, and that's coming from our new disaster woman. 𝗃𝗃.
25,000 pull you out of poverty.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So as it is now, over 5,000 vulnerable, very poor persons and even PWDs have, received theirs. The story is on page.
And 25,000 pull them out of poverty.
It will pull them out of poverty, according to our poverty alleviation minister. That's stories on page 3. Well, that's all we can take, unfortunately. We still have New Telegraph, but we have run out of time now. We'll take a short break. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, and then our listeners can be a part of the conversation live. All right, so stay with us. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, and please stay tuned.
Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.
John, what's up? Check your phone. I just send you Momo referral.
My mama don't run that one for me since now. Me say for the 5 who I go refer, make a quick hammer my million.
Hey! You too should be one of the 6 millionaires for the Momo Refer and Win promo. To win, dial *671# to sharpen open your Momo account and select option 6